Hey guys, my name is Nikki, aka the Dragon Queen, and it has been a really long time. So, I am here today with my November wrap-up and my December TBR. Now, I haven't read that much for the last 2 months, that's why it's been so long. I've been caught up in work, and if I do read, it's for work, and it hasn't been for fun. So, I have decided that I am participating in a 52 book challenge next year, excluding books for my publishing company. That's a lot of books, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, but that's besides the point. I will do another video on that. But today, let's just get into it. So the first book and only book I read in November, at least that I can remember off the top of my head, was Warlock Holmes, A Study in Brimstone by G.S. Denning. I gave this a 4-star. I picked up this book because the synopsis is hilarious, and the book sounded amazing, but it kind of left me, it was kind of lackluster, I think. Now, okay, so it's a good read. I do suggest you read it, and I can't really explain in words why I didn't love it, but it kind of felt like in the original Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock was pretentious, and Sherlock was the one that you love to hate, but you hate to love, and all that jazz. And then Watson was just like a kind of passerby who kind of balanced him out and helped him become a human being, basically, instead of a sociopath. So in this one, instead of Sherlock, it's Warlock Holmes, and instead of being deductive and being a detective, he's actually a warlock, based off, obviously, his name, and he uses magic to determine what happens. Now, the problem is, because he uses magic so much, he doesn't understand the real world, so again, Watson comes in and is swept into this mess, and kind of becomes the conscience of Warlock to make sure he doesn't break any laws and doesn't get caught, because Warlock is afraid that people will find out that he is a warlock. Though, one thing, if you don't know based off his name, yeah, I mean, come on. But, anyway, so there was that balance, but the problem was Warlock was more goofy and less serious, and Watson instead was the one that was deductive, and he was able to find things and pick out clues and solve the cases. So he would solve the cases and then give Warlock the credit, because Warlock was the one that was known in Scotland Yard. So it was just, it felt kind of like there were two pretentious douchebags at times instead of just one lovable douchebag that had somebody to balance him out. So I don't know. I think I will read book 2 that comes out May of 2017, but I'm not in a rush to go buy it in hardcover. I do think it's funny. I think if you want a Sherlock fix, this could fix that, but it's missing something. It's lackluster, for lack of a better term. So now, okay, we're gonna get into books that I am going to read this month in December. Now, 3 of these books are for fun, just because I want to, and 2 are for work. So, starting January 1st is when I will start my 52 book challenge, plus my books for work. So it's gonna be, I don't know how many at the end, but my goal is to read once a week. This month, because I have 2 to read for work, I'm just going to pick 3 books. I might pick up a 4th, but I'm not entirely sure yet. So the first 2 books, and I will put a picture here, is Lady of the Night by Bardon. This book is coming out soon. I'm currently reading through and offering suggestions to the author based off my personal preferences. She could take it or leave it, but it is a book following a woman in the 1800s during Jack the Ripper. It has a very interesting twist based off of the Jack the Ripper series, or the Jack the Ripper story, And I think she did really well based off what I've read so far. I've already started it. I'm starting it again. I'm on page 9 now, but I've read about 60 pages in. It is a shorter book, but it is very good so far. I do highly recommend it. Granted, it is a TBR publishing book, so of course I'm going to recommend it. But I'm liking it so far, and I'm looking forward to see who Jack the Ripper really is in this series, because it's not just a man. And that's an interesting twist for me. The second book is called Best Intentions by Michael Levy. I don't know much about this book right off the top of my head. It is a sci-fi book. It is also coming out soon. I do plan on reading it this month so that I can better prepare myself to tell the world what it's about. It's another book that's being published by the Dragon's Rocket Ship Publishing, but my business partner read it. I have not yet. I will tell you more once I read it, and I'm sure I'll give it a 5 stars. Now, the next 3 books are books that I want to read. Now, one thing that you'll notice in a video I'm going to record right after this about my 52 books is these are all for my bookshelf. I am going to attempt to not buy as many books next year. I know. Hilarious. Listen, I have a lot of books. A lot. And I'm tired of having so many books on my shelf, not because I don't love books, but because I haven't read them. And it is such a daunting thing to look at my bookshelf and be like, I haven't read this, haven't read this, haven't read this, haven't read this. And you know it's a problem when you go to the bookstore and buy books again because you forgot you own them. For example, I had 2 copies of Splintered because I forgot I bought the first copy. I bought a copy of Raven Boys, even though my best friend owns a copy next door, and she's like, why did you buy that? I own it. Like, I can't keep track of what books I already own because I haven't read them all, and it's frustrating. Beyond frustrating. Okay, so the 3 books that I'm reading this month, I've already started one. I'm not very far into it. It is the second when I'm recording this. It is Star Trek, The Next Generation Cold Equations, Book 1, The Persistence of Memory by David Mack. Now, this book follows after Nemesis, and it follows Dr. Maddox calling the Enterprise to come and help him, and when they get there, there is an explosion, and they find out that all of the androids that are attempts to fix Data are missing. So B4 and Data's daughter and 4 others are missing, and they don't know who took them, they don't know where it is, at least not yet, and they're trying to find them. And the big problem is, which is why Dr. Maddox called him to begin with, is B4, who was Dr. Maddox's attempt to make another android, because Dr. Song passed, or Sung Song, he passed away before he could make another body for Data. B4 is holding Data's memory, and the problem which caused Dr. Maddox to call the Enterprise was that the memory is B4 is becoming corrupt, which means he's going to have to wipe Data's memory or risk losing both B4 and Data. So he needs to find B4 and the other androids, find a way to house Data's memory, and find a way to recreate a body capable of handling Data's processing. So I'm really interested in this. I'm usually not a sci-fi person, but Star Trek has a close place in my heart, so I'm very excited to get back into this. I've watched all of the original and Next Gen, and I need a fix. I tried DS9 and I wasn't a fan, and I keep getting told to watch Voyager, so maybe one day, but I want to read right now, so I'm going to read that. Hopefully it's good. So far I love it. Good. So the next 2, anybody who is on BookTube will already have known that these exist. The first one is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Now, I know nothing about this book going into it. I know that everybody and their mother on this site loves it, and that I have to read it, and it's amazing. And when I did a poll on Booksamino, everybody was like, you have to read this one, Glass of Thrones, and Harry Potter. Those are the books you have to read So I'm gonna read it. I can't guarantee that I'm going to buy the next 3 books in the series, but I'm going to start it, and if I like it or love it, then I might buy the other books, but those books aren't on my to-read list for next year, so it might have to wait. The last book is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Now, I am 34 pages into this book. I picked this book up a couple of months ago, and then I stopped reading. I got distracted. I was reading something else. I don't know what my excuse was. I got distracted. So, here's the thing. I'm pretty sure I showed this before. I have the entire box set. I got this for my birthday last year, I think. So it's been a year, because my birthday's coming up. It's been a year since I've had it. I read book 1. I started book 2 months later. Haven't picked it up. In my life, I haven't passed 4 because when I was a child and I was reading them when they first came out, I got caught up in the bandwagon, but then they announced that there were 7 and I got mad and basically decided that they ruined the story for me because I knew Harry Potter couldn't die until the end of book 7. Yes, I know if you leave a comment, I know what happens. Don't spoil it for people. Every time I say that, people are like, oh, well, in book, no. Shh. Shh. Quiet. Okay, so I have seen parts of the movies. I haven't watched them all in one sitting. I find the world interesting. I find the hype interesting. I know that I'm a Ravenclaw. I like Ravenclaw. I like the world. I just never finished reading the books. So my goal is to finish reading the books hopefully next year, but it really depends. Like, if there's a book on my bookshelf for my 52 book challenge that just isn't grasping me, I'm not going to force myself to read it. I'm going to read something else. So I'll try to go towards Harry Potter if that happens, because there's plenty of books on there that I'm a little hesitant about, but I own them, so I would like to get them knocked out. So those are my books that I would like to read this month. There are 5. These 3, and then Best Intentions and Lady of the Night. Hopefully I will be able to get them done. These 2 should be easy reads. They're pretty big font, pretty short books. This one, the font is a little smaller, as you can see. It's a little smaller. But it's not that long. It's less than 400 pages, so it shouldn't be that difficult to get through. I read 34 in like an hour, which is slow for me, but I was getting distracted. But yeah, so that's my TBR and what I read last month. Hopefully when I do my end of the year wrap up, everything, I meet my quota. I'm pretty sure I will hit it, because I think I'm at 45 books finished, and my goal was 50. My goal was 75 originally, but I nixed that and made it to 45. Or I'm sorry, 50, and I don't know if Goodreads will show that I beat it, because a lot of the books I read this year are books for work, and they're not necessarily available for picking on Goodreads yet. But I'll know that I hit my goal, and that's what matters. But yeah, that's all for today. I will talk to you all later. This is the Dragon Queen, signing off.